The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome in, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving week to all of those who celebrate it there. Welcome into another episode of Tier Tuesdays here with the HighLowSports podcast. We got a fun game, a fun tiering today ahead of the games coming up on Thursday and as well as Black Friday for the first time ever as well. Is DJ joined as always by my co-host Kelsey. And you know what, Kelsey? It's getting close to that time where in the NFC side, at least, a lot of we kind of have an idea who's going to get to the playoffs. The AFC, we still have no idea, but teams are starting to kind of put themselves in a category. So these tiers are getting a little bit more defined, if you will. They're not quite as sporadic.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like there's not as many movers and shakers going forward that we might see. There might be some that might drop, and as you know, injuries or anything might impact them. Spoiler alert, maybe for your list. I don't know. Maybe it is. But we'll see. I mean, it's always fun, right? This is the part where you really get down to the nitty gritty. You get down to okay, how many division games do they have left? What is their tiebreakers looking like? I mean, there's already talks on the radio about, the Browns playoff hopes now. And so, hey, there's no telling where we're at, where we're going to finish at. But right now we're at the important part where teams need to start winning if they're going to have a chance.
Absolutely. You know what? Let's not waste any more time. We're going to get right into it. We're going to break out the tiers now. And here's what we're looking at for this week. I'm going to go from the top to the bottom, unless we're going to do it inversely. The tops, we got the favorites, Chiefs and the Eagles. I don't give a you-know-what about Monday. That game, those are clearly the two best teams right now. I mean, I feel like we take them against just about anybody else. We're probably going to pick them unless we're just trying to say screw it and win a lot of money. But more often than not, if you're saying our lives dependent on it, we're probably taking one of these two teams against everybody else. So right now they still get the favorites. And we're not going to pick against Mama Kelsey right now. We're just not going to do it.
Never pick against
Mama Kelsey. Mama Kelsey's there.
I'm not picking against the Swifty either. That's the other part.
They know. They know. We don't even get me started on that. We are going to avoid that altogether as well too. We are not getting that army sent after us. In Swift we trust. Like the DeAndre, Taylor, all of them. That's Swift from Pokemon, all of it. But and the next tier we got not far behind. These are the teams that could on any given day beat those teams above. If it's a 7-game series, it gets real interesting. Ravens. They've smoked just about everyone besides a few random fourth quarter losses. They have the fewest amount of time trailing in NFL history. All those other teams on the top 5 were 10-0 when it happened. They are 7-3 because they like to choke late. Makes no sense, but they're still outstanding. The Lions, they're just really good, man. Like they are. If you could take that Ravens loss, it kind of leaves a little bit like, huh, you got clapped like that. But every other game, they are just so good. Dan Campbell has them firing. Jared Goff played his worst game of the season and still let a comeback win. San Francisco, we all know it. Even with losing Hufanga for the season, they're still dynamic. Brock Purdy seems to have found his mojo back. And they got George Kittle involved in the offense this year. Like they have last year, I know there's a lot. We were concerned, like, well, what are you doing with George Kittle? He's an offensive lineman adjacent. They got him involved in the passing game this year, which I think is going to make their offense that much better. Playoffs with an exclamation point. I feel like these teams are playoff bound. It would take a pretty epic collapse at this point for them to not get there. The Browns, they're at like 75% to make the playoffs right now after that win because they hold a bunch of tiebreakers. And Myles Garrett should be in the MVP conversation, let alone Defensive Player of the Year. DTR, he threw it 43 times. They had the ball so much, they ran it almost 30 times, and he was able to throw it 43, which you don't want to do long term, but I think against that Steelers defense, getting a chance to throw it 43 times is going to be good for DTR. Moving forward, that's a lot of valuable experience, and TJ Watt was held in check for the most part as well by DeJuan Jones. Your Cowboys, we know what they do. They will absolutely mutilate all the tuna cans they play. We got to see when they start playing some of those other teams. That Eagles game, they showed a lot. We just got to see a little bit more, but they're pretty much playoff bound at this point. It would take a lot for them to not make it. Same with the Dolphins. The Bills continue to Bills. The Dolphins continue the Dolphins at this point. That one of the Dolphins are pretty much assured either a wild card or their division the way it's going. Jacksonville, it's the AFC South, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And the Seahawks in the NFC, they've won enough games where I think I'm not gonna say they're guaranteed in the playoffs, but I think they control their own destiny with a little bit of leeway as well. Playoffs with a question mark. There is a path. There's an alleyway there, but it's not Diagon Alley. It's not nearly that much fun. It's like a backwards dumpster cat alley where you're walking on eggshells, and if you trip, you fall on broken glass. The Bills, we already know about that mess. The Vikings would probably be one tier up if they would have got that win over the Broncos, who are right there with them. they're both right in the thick of it. The Vikings they're about 2 games up. They're in the 7th seed, so they might get in there regardless. The Colts, they're still in there by virtue of the AFC South and sitting at 500. Steelers, the loss to the Browns kind of dropped them here, but they're still right in it as well. And then Houston Texans 6-4. They're in that 7th seed right now. CJ Stroud, he's not stopping. Devin Singletary too, 300 yards in the last 3 weeks or so, something like that. Like, okay, clearly he wasn't the issue in Buffalo. The NFC South, I'm not talking about this division anymore. Not likely. These teams, they could make the playoffs, but we're not. There's take a lot to go wrong from about, what is that, 11 teams ahead of them, not including that other division. Yeah, good luck. They're just not good teams. The Bears, you won the turnover battle. You dominated everything. 40 minutes of time of possession. You lost the game. That's just a bad team, unfortunately. DJ Moore's outstanding. Fields is dynamic. There's a lot that needs to be done there. Good thing they got 2 first-round picks. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray might be playing the Cardinals out of the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. He looks really good in 2 weeks coming off an ACL injury. I know they did just lose to Houston, but Kyler looks really good. And he's throwing to Trey McBride, the tight end. One of his big questions, laying with Russell Wilson, is use your tight end, see the middle of the field. Trey McBride looks darn good. Kyler might have upped his game during this Call of Duty time a little bit as well. Washington, Sam Howell is your future quarterback, I believe. He's going to have some rough points like he did this week. I don't know why you have 2 first-round receivers and you cycle them out every other play for 4 tight end packages and then throw it deep. They confuse me. And we saw the fire sell the Commanders. They're just not that good. You let Tommy DeVito throw 3 touchdowns on you. The Giants, I don't care if Tommy DeVito threw 3 touchdowns. You're still bad. And then the Packers, I don't care that you won. Still bad. Chargers get their own territory because they lost to a team in the bad category. And Justin Herbert's incredible, but even he can't seem to figure this out. It's not his fault. He threw a perfect pass to Quentin Johnston, who then just kind of forgot the ball. I digress. The Chargers are their own category of WTF. And then, yikes, Bengals, Joe Burrow's done for the year. Your season's over. Patriots, you better tell Drake May to start looking at real estate in Foxborough. Tennessee, we'll see with Will Levis. You got a lot of work to do. Carolina, 1-7, 1-8 now. Do I need to say much more about Carolina? So here's what we're looking at, Kelsey. What are we shaking and moving and shucking and driving?
Yeah. So, all right. I'm just gonna address the I guess bolt in the room, if you will. I'm gonna skip the yikes conversation because all those teams are just
they're done.
Yeah, forget about it. Except maybe Adam Thielen. I wish Adam Thielen would get a chance. Not gonna happen with the Panthers, but you see how much it cares for him. He's still coaching Bryce Young every step of the way. But no, the Bolts. I'm gonna go straight to the Bolts. Injury concerns. We talked about it. How bad that was. Stone Smart scoring a touchdown from 45 yards out, and your team still doesn't win a game when a guy named Stone Smart with 2 T's scores. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, Quentin Johnston might be the bust of this first round from this last draft. I think it's safe to say right now he is not doing himself any favors at all. I don't know what the Chargers can do, but it's definitely looking forward to next season time. And the fact that Brandon Staley still will not answer to the fact that he is an idiot sometimes with his play calling is not going to help him by any means. We've seen enough coaches stick by their whatever mantra or whatever you want to call it. Chip Kelly, I'm looking specifically at you in the NFL and seeing how much it fails. Every time somebody gets so adamant about the way they do things, they always fail as an NFL coach. So I'm not going to wish he fails, but I'm going to say, hey, maybe take a page of history and address the fact that you're making mistakes and learn from them. Your predecessor never learned from them. The bad. I mean, look, the Bears, man. This whole the thing that the Bears, that I think it all fell off the rails when Braxton Jones got pulled for the play. I still don't know what's going on. I've looked it up. Basically, I think he got up, stumbled. Somebody from the sideline had called to try to get him pulled out for concussion protocol. At one point in time, he ended up yelling, "I can't even see this, that, and the other." And that's really where that game fell off the rails for the Bears. I say that knowing full well 2 plays later, then Justin Fields dots up DJ Moore for a 60-yarder or something. But it was like after that, it just seemed like that offense just kind of struggled. And then even the last drive, they're putting Borum and Jones back and forth, pulling him out, putting one back in. It was a miserable situation. And I don't know what the Bears are doing right now. Eberflus probably need to get things working on the right page here. I don't know. But they're good. They're good enough to play themselves out of the Caleb situation. But they're bad enough to still be a potential top 10 pick with a top 5 pick as the other pick.
If they could just play first halves, the Bears would be in the playoffs right now. Like this game, the Broncos game, they've had a couple others where the first half they're flying, then the rails come flying off. Like if they could just play first halves, they'd be the Vikings basically.
Yeah, exactly. So the Cardinals, I mean, I think we're all shocked right now by Kyler Murray coming back and playing this way. I don't think he played Call of Duty as much as he played maybe some Madden. I'm not even gonna say maybe
Tyreek
Madden.
Hill playbook.
Yeah, I mean, he whatever the new 2K edition is of the NFL game, it might have been that he was playing, or he was playing college football 2014. I mean, I don't know,
Can't go
but
wrong.
he learned something when he was gone, and it sure enough wasn't how to survive to the end of the gulag. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Impressive to see what they're doing. I don't know if they're fully bad, but right now, yeah, it's just I mean, they have no other recourse right now and where they're at. Washington, obviously.
Imagine this team, Kyler Murray playing how he is now, but you're gonna put Marvin Harrison Jr. out there now.
Yeah, I don't trust him to throw the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. consistently enough, so I'll hold
He
off
did
my
throw it to he threw it to D Hop plenty.
that's fair. But
The
D-Hop's
outlier
a different
somehow.
animal.
That's true. Or maybe
So
Malik Nabers too, just running 4-3 up the sideline.
he can already run 4-3 up the sideline. He doesn't need somebody else to run 4-3 up the sideline for him.
That's why he's got Hollywood Brown running 4-2 up the sideline.
But yeah, no, the Commanders, they are the Commanders. The Giants, they are the Giants who beat the Commanders, who just still do nothing to impress me whatsoever from either side. They are equally bad, and I wish for all wishes that the offense for the Commanders can be put on any other team, so I can be like, yeah, Sam Howell getting me more fantasy points. No, Brian Robinson getting me fantasy points. No, I can't. I still can't do it because the rest of your team is garbage. Yeah, that is just what it is. The Packers, I don't know what to make of the Packers ever. I mean, Aaron Jones' injury now is just, can you catch any more bad luck if you're Aaron Jones? I don't think you can. AJ Dillon was in and out with a shoulder injury, and then there was their third string running back got injured on a stiff arm. I don't even know if he came back in the game. That team's a mess. There's no doubt about it. But it's like at the same time, you still see brightness from their young receiving core. Jaron Reed specifically, I look at as a guy that like, wow, maybe he might be an impactful guy going forward. But for right now, yeah, I think the Packers are bad. I just don't know what else you're going to put them other than just bad. Like it's just, I still can't get over Jordan Love not converting on a fourth and short against the Falcons and literally falling over. I still not get over that moment. So
This is an epitome of how bad the Chargers are. It took them playing the Chargers for the Packers to get right because they've been a mess up since that point moving forward. And they're like, oh wait, we got the Chargers. It's our get right game. Like that's why the Chargers get their own category.
To be fair, it's like the Packers didn't even really do much that game. The Packers just kept doing what they're doing, and the Chargers like, don't worry, we'll make it up for you. We are sandbagging hardcore this season is really what it feels like the Chargers are doing.
Meanwhile, Justin's sitting there like, I am lighting this up when you actually watch it, but it does not matter.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Making plays, literally, it was a 45-yard scramble at one point in time when he looks sacked in the backfield by Wyatt, and you're just like, oh, never mind. There's the athlete, Justin.
He's playing absolutely incredible, but it's completely irrelevant, and it doesn't show statistically necessarily, but like it's absolutely insane. Like
and unfortunately, Austin Eckler's had some really untimely fumbles this year,
and that injury too. That injury I think has hampered him a lot more than he'll let on to.
That's for sure. Moving to not likely, the Jets, Raiders, Rams. Out of these three, I mean, maybe the Jets might figure it out, but I doubt it.
Season now, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it at this point. It's pretty much game over right there. Raiders, I mean, Aiden O'Connell looked fun. It looked like there was,
Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah. Who would have thought we were complimenting the Dolphins defense on a Tuesday? So yeah, Rams, I got no comment. Maybe don't let Aaron Donald go out and intentionally injure another quarterback anymore. The fact Carson Wentz is on the sideline laughing about it because deep down Carson's like, man, I remember having my head bounce off the turf too.
I remember when that jerk sprained both my ankles on the same play.
Yeah, so I mean, look, the Rams are what they are. Surprised they made it this long as a competitive team. The NFC South, forget about it. I have no comments whatsoever. Mike Evans still might get 1,000 yards, but we'll see.
Oh, he will. He'll find a way.
Yeah. So playoffs, question mark. I am shocked that 4-5 of these teams exist in this because realistically speaking, 14 teams make the playoffs. Right now, if you look above them where we have these teams ranked, we have room for 4 of these 6 teams And if one of them's not Buffalo, which I'm starting to feel like one of them is not going to be Buffalo, that's going to leave you 5 teams that nobody expected to make the playoffs.
And don't forget, one of those from the NFC South and below has to take a spot too, because division reasons too. So even more so, even less options.
Oh no, they got the. Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's true.
But I know what you're saying. It's starting to feel like Buffalo has no business being in this category, yet here they are.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, so you're going to get 3 of these 6 teams here, and Buffalo might not be one of the teams to make it. You have a Josh Dobbs replaced Minnesota Vikings with no Justin Jefferson. You have the Broncos looking like they actually can play back-to-back games well. Not perfect by any means. This game he played that the Broncos played against the Vikings was nowhere near as good as the last week's game, but it was still good enough to win, and that's at the end of the day all you need. And Cortland Sutton, I've said it before, the most underrated number 1 receiver in the league, and the guy just needs to get an opportunity in the red zone. And when you should give him an opportunity in the red zone 2 weeks in a row, guess what happens? Game-winning touchdowns by the smoothest footwork in the previous week. And then this week, I mean, just being a big man. That's all there is to it. And Jerry Jeudy, by the way, in moments in this game, just absolutely looked untouchable. It's good to see.
The biggest play batting that pass out of that guy's hands at the end of the half, too. That should have been intercepted, where Russell threw it right to him, playing defensive back. And I saw that Jerry Jeudy doing the defensive back thing afterwards, too. He knew what was up. He's seen those guys do that.
He was about to pull out the sword and tuck the sword back in. I was shocked. But I got to look at these last 3 teams. The teams I'm most shocked that are in this competition right here. You have the Colts with no Anthony Richardson, who had Jonathan Taylor. What was he going to do at one point in time in this season? You've had in and out injuries defensively, but the defense, who last year really imploded in itself, has played exceptionally well. Sure, you've had some gifts given to you, a few plays like Mac Jones throwing the ball to Julian Blackmon right there in front of the end zone.
They're confusing because they're 31st in points give it up, and yet they have games like that Mac Jones gift.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing enough to win the games when they have to, and then that's all you need to do. You bend but don't break. At the end of the day, that's the name of the game. Speaking of bend but don't break, the offense for the Steelers, bending but not breaking to the point of scoring, yet still, they should have beat the Browns. I don't think there's any question they should have beat the Browns, but that offense is so atrocious they couldn't beat the Browns.
I don't even know. I want to blame Kenny Pickett because it's easy, but I don't know how good he is because this offense is something that we would drop a better offense while sitting on the toilet after a night at PF Chang's. Like the offensive concepts make no sense half the time.
It's like they took a Lamborghini and put a Geo Metro 2-stroke engine into it and said, "Hey, you're going to go race the Le Mans." Wait, what? You can do it. You can succeed and you can finish the 24 hours, but you have to go much slower than what the actual car is built to do. And that's what it feels like with the Steelers teams. Like there's so many handicaps on what Canada is allowing the team to do and what he's even capable of calling. It feels like. I mean, honestly, I've never seen fearful offensive play calling to the level that Matt Canada has taken this. I do feel like he is absolutely fearful of calling a play, period. Which does remind me, I do want to go back to the Vikings about this point. Really what we saw in that Broncos game, you saw a lot of why Josh Dobbs, the downside of bringing a quarterback in midseason, because you have a quarterback who doesn't know the in-depth reads. Like he knows the order in which the reads happen, but then he's so quick to be like, all right, there's nothing there, got to go. There were times if he pumps, throws it over the top, there's a wide open man because those safeties crept in so tight because they knew that he's not looking to go back through the reads if he has time. He's just looking to get out of the pocket, which is not a bad thing by any means, but that's the difference between a guy who's done this a lot with Kirk and a guy who hasn't been in this offense for a long time. So do just want to point that out, talk about fearful play calling. I'm not necessarily fearful from Josh Dobbs. It's just the fact that he doesn't want to take a sack in bad situations. He's trying to keep his team on pace, which is fine, acceptable. But just throwing it out there as well. And the shock, I think, of all shocks right now this season, the Texans. I mean, playoffs question mark. I think this could be a playoffs exclamation point with what we've seen.
They're probably a win away from that, honestly. If they win, if they beat Jacksonville next week, they're in that conversation. I think they're right there.
I mean, this is a team I think we're all surprised right now. I don't think anybody's. If you called this, I'm calling you a liar. Because as good as DeMeco Ryans is as a coach, as good as CJ Stroud was coming out, as good as we hoped the defense could be for this team, nobody is looking at what they're doing and thinking, yeah, that's exactly what I expected. I'm like, oh, wow, this is impressive. Like, I mean, realistic, this is top to bottom impressive. Never seen a rookie play this well as a quarterback. I don't think any person could ever say they've seen a rookie quarterback in their lifetime today that has played this well
You could
ever.
make a case for Justin Herbert a couple of years ago, but at the same time, like it's a you're
But
picking some of the top of rookie years of all time to compare at this
yeah,
point. We're not even done with this one yet.
I mean, 15 rookies have received a vote in the MVP voting all time. The last one was Edgerrin James.
That was a
The
different era
last
too. That's a
last
running
quarterback
back.
was in 1976.
That's
Was
gonna change this year. Someone's gonna give CJ Stroud an MVP vote if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, the way they're going, it feels like they're going to make the playoffs. Now, is it all just CJ? No, it is literally it's a conglomerate of all these players. But you see it in CJ's reaction on the field. You saw it a little bit last night. He did get into some receivers and did get into some linemen who just weren't making the right read. And that's good. I want to see that from my young quarterback because that means he's reading the field. He knows and understands this whole thing. So I don't have any changes to playoffs, but I would say if there's a change that's probably going to happen, it's to me, the Texans, when we do this next week,
He
are
might be
probably going to be playoffs exclamation point.
especially if they beat the AFC South leading Jaguars, because that's gonna put them half a game behind the Jaguars. They're gonna be right there.
If I'm not mistaken, that gives them the tiebreaker too.
They'll have the tiebreaker. I think the Jaguars will have one game up on them though, so there'll be
Yeah.
a half game. But yeah, they're in the thick of it with only room to go up. It feels like.
Yeah, there you go. Now playoffs. This is the one where I think I might have the most. Not I won't say most. I would have the most case for moving anybody. I just think the Browns playoffs question mark maybe was more where they're going to end up at. They are a great defense, but I do look at that offense with DTR or whoever they run out there, Joe Flacco potentially, because they just signed him to his practice squad, and we'll see if he ends up actually making
Oh, Joe Flacco's coming out now. Then we're going up here now. If you're telling me Joe Flacco's coming out,
this isn't Joe Flacco playing for a contract with the Ravens trying to prove himself. This is Joe Flacco after he got that contract. So we'll see. But no, I am concerned that they potentially will fall off the cliff here, and it's nothing to do with anything on the defensive side, all to do with that offense. Also, the Kareem Hunt situation just seems to be weird. They don't seem to use him as much as they should, and it just feels uncomfortable that he's in that on that team. Like, does that make? I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like he'd be much better served at another team, getting more carries. But it feels like with Cleveland, they're just kind of like, all right, you're here. You know the offense. You've been here for many years, but we're going to use these other guys instead.
I'm curious to see what this team looks like moving forward against some of the better offenses because they kind of played almost their perfect match with the Steelers, a team with arguably a worse offense and a good but not quite as good defense. So they were able to basically ultimate AFC North it. So I'm going to be curious when they play some of these other teams higher that are in these tiers with them. Like they're probably better than everyone in playoffs question mark, but I don't know if they're good as everyone in playoffs exclamation point. That's kind of where they're interesting.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I mean, I look at the Cowboys. I feel fine in your assessment that I feel like they're going to make the playoffs.
They have so many wins, like they would
But
have to lose out to not make it at this point.
Yeah, and I do feel like the ultimate implosion team though is the Cowboys, so it's always a possibility.
Yeah, they got too many tomato cans on the schedule. They're good.
Yeah, that's true. Dolphins, man. I gotta say, Dolphins now Jalen's back. This Dolphins team might not be far behind.
Jalen looks as good as he's ever looked as far as taking the ball away too.
Oh, he in that cover. Well, so it's a cover two defense that the Dolphins continue to run and have run for since God knows how long. That I don't know why it's always their identity, but it's always that cover two that gets people in trouble when they play them. It's because they have so many athletes, so many long athletes in that secondary that can cover a lot of space. And that's even, I mean, Javon Holland has been in and out of the lineup all year. So doing it with and without him. So it's impressive. So now you got Jalen back. We'll see how they can do going forward, but I do think this team might be not too far behind. Jaguars, again, just like I talked about the Texans, this team might flip-flop with the Texans here next week. Seahawks, I'm with you. I think they control their destiny to a certain degree. Basically, just win out and you'll be fine. Don't lose any stupid conference game or any stupid in division games, and you're pretty good. Win all the games you're
for a
supposed to.
steady period of time though, they plummet. I just don't think Drew Lock has it no more. He looked poop when for that short amount of time he came in.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
I could be wrong. Maybe he just needs some more time to wrap some young GZ in between games, but we'll see. I'm worried if Gino's out for any extended period of time.
Yeah.
And Kenneth Walker too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't have any commentary on the favorites. Just I'm not ever betting against Swifties. whether that be the Swiftie herself in T Swift, because, well, she is an Eagles fan, and obviously Travis Kelce. So no chance I'm picking anything over
I'm
that.
not picking against the Mama Kelsey Bowl.
Yeah, no, not at all. Now, not far behind. I don't mind the Lions here. I don't mind the Niners here as well. But I look at the loss of Mark Andrews for an extended period of time, and that does concern me for the Ravens offense because they have been so good offensively, and a big part of that obviously is Mark Andrews. Now, I will say Isaiah Likely has been a godsend for this offense because he does allow 2 tight ends to be a weapon for this team. So, I mean, there is that caveat to it all. But I'm curious to see what they can do going forward with just 1 tight end. I do think a lot of why Isaiah Likely was able to operate was because of Andrews on the field. And obviously, I'm not discounting the receivers that are out there. Just saying, we all know Lamar's favorite target is the tight end. It's always been Mark Andrews. That's a safety blanket. How is he going to operate without Mark Andrews? Considering he's had so much success with Mark Andrews and throughout his career, and even this season, it hasn't been perfect by any means, but he's still a top 5 tight end yet again. Yeah, I'm curious, but I don't think they're still going to fall far from the not far behind. I think maybe if anything, they'd fall to the top of playoffs or exclamation point. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Barring a total disaster, I don't see anything from the Ravens changing. So yeah, I mean, overall, I like the list as it is. I have no really major changes. Like I said, I think I'm more projecting towards the future here. I think the big changes might come from the Texans, Jaguars, and Browns. Potentially the Cowboys if they really screw up. But those are the big 4 I look at where there's probably some moving and shaking that's going on there. And if I'm going to pick one from the not likely section, I'm going to say the Raiders are probably the team that I might be concerned about if I'm any other team, just because something about the Raiders with a replacement coach who hasn't fully gotten the job yet, go with a chance at the playoffs. They're a team you don't really want to play.
Their defense does not have a whole lot of blue chip players outside of Max Crosby, but they are very well. They do not get out schemed necessarily. Like they just don't have the players in a lot of these games. Like
Antonio Pierce did the right thing when he literally signed 3 linebackers the day he got hired or promoted, I should say.
Their defensive coordinator's name, his name eludes me. I can't think of it. My apologies, defensive coordinator, but he's playing himself into a potential head coaching job in a year or 2. Probably not this coming year, but like the following coaching cycle, if they keep this up, he's done a darn good job there.
No, I agree. I think looking at it, it is Patrick Graham.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. But he's done a dang good job. And if the Raiders go on a little bit of a run, he's going to get a lot of credit. And Aiden O'Connell, despite throwing 3 picks and throwing it to Jalen Ramsey a little bit too often, he's an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo already. I think just the eye test will tell us that as well. He is not. Jimmy's costing them plays by making dumb decisions, where Aiden O'Connell feels like he's trying to make plays that end up becoming bad. If that makes sense, like there's a difference in the type of turnover.
Aiden O'Connell is putting it all out there and trying to make a play. Jimmy's just out there to play.
He's he just doesn't look comfortable at the same time. Like I don't know how to explain it. And one of them's a rookie, one of them's 30. So I guess that might be why I'm looking at it too.
I would also like the one thing about the Lions, and it's a good thing. We've talked about them, obviously their growth throughout the time. This is the one of the few times you say they got probably played their worst offensive game, period. Their defense really kind of started to bail them out there in the second half and really flipped a switch. This is the first time I can honestly say the Lions team, I was not concerned even when they were down of them coming back. And that was the first time in the last 3 years where I've been banging the drum for the Lions that I can honestly say I think this is the team that should be feared by everybody because they are just a do not quit team, and they have the talent now to back that up.
They have the talent to match the coaching and everything in between. And Jared Goff's playing, even when he's playing his worst ball, he's playing some of his best ball to go right along with it as well. He's able to get done when he needs to get done. So definitely curious. I think we see a lot of these teams. The playoff run's going to be interesting coming down the stretch. We know some of the guys who will be there, but seeing who else will join them is going to be fun. But that's what we got for this week on Tier Tuesdays. Let us know what we got right and what we got wrong down below, and be sure to tune in with us on Wednesday at 8 p.m. for our live episode as well, or any of your favorite places to catch podcasts. And we will see you all again next time.